Hi and welcome. This week I'm going to be changing the front tyre on my Benelli 1130 TnT. I'm running a Michelin Pilot Power. This is an older tyre. This is probably about 5-6 years old, and I'll probably be replacing it with the latest version of the same tyre. I've been really happy with the grip and the handling of this tyre, so I saw no need to change brands. Now, it was a bit of an effort to get the front wheel off the ground on my Kendon bike lift. It really isn't really designed for front wheel removal unless you can actually put a jacking point under the engine, which on this particular bike is a bit difficult because the exhaust system goes under there. So I've actually got it strapped up to the roof here to lift the front end off the ground. But of course the rear of the bike sits really past the balance point on the stand. So as a safety measure, I've just put a jack underneath the exhaust pipe just to stop the stand from tipping, which it will have a tendency to do when you lift it at the front here. So everything's nice and safe and we're ready to proceed. So the first thing I'll need to do is remove the brake calipers, and then I can loosen the pinch bolts and take the axle out. Undo the two pinch bolts. Had the front tyre fitted, and I went with a Michelin Power 5. When you do get your tyre fitted, just make sure that they're fitted in the correct direction of rotation. There'll be a rotation arrow on it. Some tyres are marked both for front and rear usage, and they usually rotate in opposite directions depending on the usage. This is a front tyre and is only marked for front rotation. So the next stage is to refit it to the bike. Now just make sure that the spacer is in on the left-hand fork leg here before you refit the wheel. And you also want to grease the axle before you put it in. Now we'll just torque up the axle. Okay, now we'll do the pinch bolts. And now we'll refit the calipers. Just be careful because the pads can actually fall out of these. Now we'll just torque those bolts up. Now we'll put the other side on. Now we'll just torque those up. Well, that's the job completed, front tyre replaced. Now I haven't really talked about torque settings so far in this particular video because this particular front end with its radial mount calipers isn't actually mentioned in the service manual that I've got. It may actually be mentioned in the later model service manuals, which I believe have the same front end. Now the axle is probably the same as the model that has the standard calipers on it. So I've gone with 60 Newton meters for the axle. And as a guide for the radial mount caliper bolts, I've used the diameter bolt. They're a 10mm bolt with a 1.25mm pitch. So I've gone with 40 Newton meters on those, and that seems to be about right. The only other bolts you need to be wary of are the two pinch bolts, which are on the right-hand side here. It would be really easy to strip those. They're a 6mm bolt, and the thread only engages to a depth of about the same as the diameter of the bolt, so that's about an engagement of around 6mm, and it'll be really easy to strip those. So I've only torqued those up to 5 Newton meters. If anyone knows what the correct setting should be for this particular model, you can let me know in the comments below. Now the only other thing I need to do is reseat the pads on the disc by pumping the brake lever, because taking the calipers off and refitting them will have disturbed the position of the pads. We're in the middle of a lockdown here again, so there's not much else to do but work in a garage. I do actually have to replace the front brake pads on this bike sometime in the near future, but the way things are going I might as well do it sooner rather than later, so that's probably my next job on this bike. I'm actually running out of things to do in the garage at the moment. It's been pretty quiet in Melbourne, I can tell you. Well, that's it for this particular video, and I'll catch you next time.